Bruchim haboim. Welcome everyone. We're about to begin Be'ezras Hashem together on Daf Nun Hey Amud Beis, starting with Nun Hey Amud Aleph, about a third way up from the bottom of the Amud, the second Mishnah on the Amud. Says the Mishnah Rabbi Meir Oimer, Kol Melacha Shehitchil Ba Kodim LaArbasar Goimra BeArbasar. All Melacha that was performed and began before Arbasar can be then completed on Arbasar. We're talking about even those places where you cannot do Malacha on Erev Pesach Koidem Chatzois. Aval lo yatchil ba betchila ba'arbasar, but you cannot begin the Malacha then. Afal pi sheyachal legoimra, even if you would be able to complete it. V'chachamim oimrim Gimel umniyois oisim malacha ba'arvei Psachim ad Chatzois. They say there are three, however, exceptions that one can do malacha on Erev Pesach until Chatzois, and this is of course letzorech hamoyed. Ve'elu hein, and these are them. Hachayotin, those who are tailoring can do so for letzorech hamoyed even on Erev Pesach koidem Chatzois. Ve'hasaporim, and making haircuts. V'hakoivsin, and those who will launder clothes. The Gemara will explain the reason for these exceptions. Rabbi Yosi Bar Yehuda Oimer Afrat Sonin, even those who are making shoes can be done on Erev Pesach Koidem Chatzois, and again we'll have to understand why Rabbi Yosi Bar Yehuda is choylek on the Tanakama. Ask the Gemara Iboiluhu the following question: Litzorech hamoyed tnan, aval shelo litzorech hamoyed, afilu migmar nami loy. In other words, that which Rabbi Meir said, we want to understand his words. Did he mean to say litzorech hamoyed? But if it's not litzorech hamoyed, even if you'll be able to complete that malacha on Erev Pesach Koidem Chatzois, then he cannot do it. It's only if it's litzorech hamoyed. So it has to be really two things. One, it's litzorech hamoyed, and two, it has to be able to be completed. Oy dilma, shaloi litzorech hamoyed tnan, aval litzorech ha'atchuli matchilon. Or does he mean to be more makil and say, even if it's not litzorech hamoyed, so long as you can complete the malacha, but if it's litzorech hamoyed, even if you just matchil, begin the malacha, that's suffice. Oy dilma bein litzorech hamoyed, bein l'shaloi litzorech migmar in atchuli loy. Or did he mean not to make a distinction and say whether it's litzorech hamoyed or shaloi litzorech hamoyed, you have to be able to complete it. But just to begin the malacha, that is osir. Now the Gemara wants to then prove, and tries to do so like by proving the first of the three suggestions. Again, the first suggestion was that it needs to be both something that is litzorech hamoyed and to be able to complete it. Toshma, let's try to bring a proof. Aval lo yaschil betchila be'arbasar, but you cannot begin doing the malacha on the 14th. Afilu tziltzul katan, afilu svacha ketana, even for a small belt or a small head covering. Maya afilu, what is this coming to say? Even a small belt or a small head covering? Lav afilu hani dilitzorech hamoid migmar in atchuli loy. Is it not talking about even that which is small that you'll be able to complete, but you will not be able to then start it? Michlal. From there we can deduce the shalot litzorech migmar nami loy gamrinon. But if it's not litzorech hamoyed, even if you can complete it, not good. It's not going to be then permissible, and therefore we can prove again, like the first tzad, that it has to be able to be litzorech hamoyed, and you could be goimer. Gemara says, "Lo, you have no proof from here. Lo oilam shaloi litzorech migmar nami gamrinon." Really, we can say even shaloi litzorech hamoyed, and so long as you can go ahead and complete it. Umay afilu, then what was the emphasis in this brayso when it's afilu a small belt and afilu a head covering? Afilu hani nami dezutrininu, even these things that are small. Desal kedai dechamina that you might have thought to say, Haschalosin zuhi gemar malachta, on the beginning, since it's so small, is also the completion. It doesn't take so much effort, so much time, because it's a small amount of work. Natchil buhunami lichatri will also allow you to then begin. Kamash malan, no. It's not going to be then good enough, even though it's something small, it has to be something that's completed. And therefore, again, we have no proof, because perhaps this is talking about something that is not litzorech moed, so long as you can go ahead and complete it. Toshma. So let's try to bring another proof for the first of the three suggestions. Again, requiring that it be litzorech hamoed and that you be able to complete it. Rabbi Meir Oimer kol malacha shehi litzorech hamoed. All of the malacha that is litzorech hamoed. We're on top of Nun Hey Amud Beis now. Goimra be'arbosar. You can complete it on the 14th. Eimosai. When is this so? That if it's litzorech hamoed, you can be goimra on the 14th. Bisman shehitchil b'koidim arbosar. That's when you began it before the 14th. Aval lo hitchil b'koidim arbosar lo yatchil b'arbosar filu tziltzol kotem v'filu tzvocha ketana. But if you did not begin it before the 14th, even if it's going to be a small belt or a small head covering, then it's not going to be good. Litzorech hamoed in, shelo litzorech hamoed loy. Only if it's litzorech hamoed is it going to be valid, but not litzorech hamoed not. So this says the Gemara. Therefore, we can prove that it has to be again litzorech hamoed, and that you could be goimer, you can complete it. Says the Gemara, no, you have no proof, because hu adin da afilu shelo litzorech hamoed gamrinon, nami gamrinon. Even if it's not litzorech hamoed, also if we can complete it. Coming to teach us da'afilu litzorech hamoed migmar in atchuli loy, and it's coming to teach us a chiddush that even if it's litzorech hamoed, it's not just good enough to be able to start it; it has to be able to be completed. So therefore, you'd have no proof from this brisa either, because maybe it's talking about sheloy litzorech hamoed to be going merit. The Gemara now tries to bring a third place where we can prove, like the first of the three tzdadim, that Reb Meir is talking about litzorech hamoed and you can complete it. Toshma, Rabbi Meir Oimer, Rabbi Meir says in this brisa, kol malacha shehi litzorech hamoed goimro be'arbosar. If it's litzorech hamoed and you can complete it on the 14th. Vishe eino litzorech hamoed also, whereas if it's not for litzorech hamoed, then it's prohibited. Ve'oisin malacha be'arvei Psachim ad chatzos b'mokom shenagu. Rabbi Meir goes on to say, and you can do malacha on Erev Pesach Kodim Chatzos if it's a place that's noig to do malacha. Ad kanda braiso. Says the Gemara to prove, like the first sad, makom shenehagu in lo nagu loy, a place that is noheg, even if it's not litzorech hamoyed, it's mutter, it's permissible. But if it's not litzorech, if it's a place that's not nohagu to do malacha, then it's prohibited. Vishma mino, and therefore we can derive from here even a place that's not noheg to do malacha. Litzorech hamoyed in shelo litzorech hamoyed loy. If it's litzorech hamoyed, then it would be permissible. Shma mino. The Gemara now quotes the next part of the Mishnah. V'chachamim oimim shalosh umniyos. The Chachamim brought that there are three exceptions that when it comes to these umniyos, that is permissible to be done. Says the Gemara, even in a mokum does not have the minhag to do malacha on Erev Pesach Kodim Chatzos. Tano, the Gemara brings a brayso. Hachayotin shekein hedyoit toifer kedarka bechulu shel moyed. When it comes to somebody who is sewing, somebody who is a tailor, since somebody can tailor things that is not an umen, somebody who is just a hedyot, he can be a toifer, he can stitch things, even on the Chol HaMoed. So therefore, when it comes to Erev Pesach, Kodim Chatzos, which is less severe than doing Malacha on Chol HaMoed, then certainly it's permissible to even be doing Chayotin, even do tailoring from a professional. Hasaporin, V'hakoifsin, Shekain, Haba Medinas Hayom, Vayotin Beis HaSurim, we have the din when a person comes from Medinas Hayam, or he's let out of prison, and he had not enough time to prepare for the Moed. So now on Chol HaMoed, he's able to launder his clothing and get a haircut. Again, Chol HaMoed, the malacha is more severe. So therefore, on Erev Pesach, Koydem Chatzois, which is less severe, then we allow haircuts and laundering. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Oimer. And again, these are things that are going to be for the Moed, the hairdress, the haircutting, and the laundering, and as well as the chayotin. That's all for the Tzorech HaMoed. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Af Haratzonim. He even added in our Mishnah that even when it comes to shoemakers, Shekein Oile Regolim Misaknim Min Aleim B'Chol Shel Moed. Because on Chol HaMoed, since people who are traveling, they're going up Ole Regel to the Beis Hamikdosh, so their shoes become worn out and they have to fix them. So he argues, if that's the case, when it comes to Chol HaMoed, you can fix them, then again, Erev Pesach Adam Chatzois, which is more lenient, you can go ahead and then make shoes. Says the Gemara, B'mai Kamiflagi. So what is the Machlokes? Why does the Tanakama not include Ratzonim, shoemaking? Answers the Gemara, Mar Sava Lemedim Techilas Malacha B'Soif Malacha. When it comes to Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, he says we can learn out the fixing, the repairing of the shoes on Chol HaMoed to the making of the shoes to Erev Pesach. Whereas the Chacham say no, when it comes to fixing, that's permissible. And therefore, indeed, even on Erev Pesach, Kodim Chatzos, one could fix. But to make shoes anew, that you cannot do. And you cannot learn that out from the Ole Regel who fixed their shoes. The Gemara now brings the following Mishnah in regards to malacha that can be done on Chol HaMoed and Erev Pesach Kodim Chatzois. It says Moshivin Shoivachin L'Tar Negolim B'Yadalid. You can return the eggs underneath the Tarnegolim, the hens, on Yudalid. V'Tarnegolim Shebarcha, and the hens that run away. Machzirin oisolim kaima. You can return the hen to its place. That means to put it on top of the eggs once again. V'imesa moshivin acheres tachta. If the hen dies, you can then take a different hen and put that hen on the eggs. The Gemara will explain the various scenarios that we're talking about. The Mishnah goes on to say, Garfim mitachas raglei behema b'yudalid. You can rake the dung of the behemoths from their legs on Yudalid. Whereas on the moyed, which is more severe, you can only put them to the sides, the dung. You can't rake them and bring them out to the chotzer. The Mishnah goes on to say, Molichin kelim umevin beis ha'uman. You can bring kelim, and you can take kelim to the Beis HaUman, and you can bring kelim from the Beis HaUman. Even if it's not going to be L'tzorech HaMoed, the Gemara will explain as well. Ask the Gemara right away, Hashto oisivi mosvinon adure mi boy. The Mishnah had stated that, in the beginning the Mishnah stated that you can go ahead and put the Tarnegolim, you can put the eggs underneath the Tarnegolim. And then it said afterwards, the Tarnegolim that run away, you can then return them on the eggs. Well, once we already said that you can go ahead and situate them, so then certainly you can return them. Says the Gemara, Omar Abaye, Seifa Ason Lechula Shel Moyed. The Reisha was talking about on Yudalid, the Seifa that says that once the Tarnegol left, you can go ahead and bring it back and put it on the eggs. That's talking about on Chol HaMoed, which is more severe. Rav Huna said, Lo shanu ela toich shloisha lemirta. That which we're saying over here, that you go ahead and return the Tarnegol on Chol HaMoed, is talking about when is within 3 days of it running away. That means to say that it's already been 3 days. The akati lo parach tzimra mino. It still has the heat. In other words, it hasn't left the hen. But if it's after 3 days from the time that it sat down on the eggs, the posta lo boy legamre, then it will destroy the eggs. It will already ruin the eggs, and therefore you can't go ahead and matriach yourself to bring the hen back on top of the eggs. But it's after three days of that the hen leaves. The parach latzimra mino, and the heat of the hen has already left it. Or if it's within 3 days of its sitting, dakati lo pasei de beya legamre, where it hasn't destroyed the egg entirely. In other words, it hasn't gone to the stage where it can only become an embryo. It can still be eaten. Then lo mahadrinon, that we don't matriach, and we say that you are not allowed to bring the hen back on top of the eggs. Rabbi Ami said, Afilu toish loisho lishivos mahadrinon. Even if it's within the 3 days that the hen is sitting there, you can still return the hen after it leaves from being on the eggs. After it's borcha, you can still matriach to return it. Why? Because he says, after all, it's still going to be some sort of loss, because it's still not going to be the same freshness as regular eggs. But my kamifligi, what's the machlek? As it more explains, Mar sava lehefse merubo chasheshu, lehefse meruat lechasheshu. The first opinion says that only when it's a hefse meruba, it calls the eggs to be destroyed entirely, then it'll be a loss to the owner, and therefore you can matriach yourself to bring back the hen on top of the eggs. But Rabbi Ami says, even when it comes to a hefse muat, we are choishesh. And therefore, although it would be a less degree, a smaller type of profit, you can sell the eggs for only less, but people are not as finicky. Still, that's sufficient enough to return the hen on the eggs, because it's still considered to be a loss. The next part of the Mishnah is garfim mitachas. We said in the Mishnah that in terms of raking the dung between the legs of the animal, that can be done. Says the Gemara, bringing the following brisa, Tonu Rabbanon. Tonu Rabbanon. Hazevel shebechotzer mesalkin oisil tzdadim. The zevel, the dung that is between the legs of the animals that are in the chotzer, that which is the dung in the chotzer can be removed to the tzdadim, to the sides. Sheberefesh v'shebechotzer motzino isoy la'ashpa. It goes on to say that that dung that is in the stall and in the chotzer can be removed to the dung heap, to the ashpa. So here we seem to have a contradiction. Hagufa kasha. Amris, you started by saying zevel shebechotzer mesalkin osil tzdadim. Vehodar tani sheberefesh shechotzer moitzinos la'ashpa. At first you said the dung has to be then put litzdadim, as not to be too much of a tircha. And yet you went on to say that the dung that is in the stable, the refes, as well as in the chotzer, can be removed. Answers to the dung heap, to the ashpa. Answers the Gemara, Omar Abaye, loy kasha. It's not a contradiction, because kan be yudalid, kan be chulashel moyed. When it comes to then just putting it at stadim, so we're more machmer during chala moyed. However, that which we said you can bring it out to the ashba, that's talking about on yudalid, when we're more mekil. Rava Amar, Rava said, ha veha bechulashel moyed. Rava suggests a different mahalik to then reconcile the two and say that they're both talking about cholamoid. We have the sefer that says you can even bring it out to the chotzer. So what's the difference? If the chotzer becomes like a stable, it becomes overloaded with dung, then motzino sila ashpa, then you can bring it out to the ashpa. So they're both talking about cholamoy, where we're machmir, we're careful and more stringent when it comes to doing malacha, and therefore mi'ikr hadin, the normal scenario would be that you have to only put it litzdadim. But when it becomes so much of the dung that is like a refes, then you can go ahead and bring it out to the chotzer. The Gemara now quotes the end of the Mishnah. Molichin kelim umevin bebeis ha'uman. You can take kelim from the beis ha'uman, and you can also bring to the beis ha'uman. Omar Rav Papa, says the Gemara, bodik lon Rava. Rav Papa says Rava, he challenged us, his talmidim. Tnan, it says in our Mishnah, molichin umevin kelim bebeis ha'uman. you can bring to the Beis HaUman, and you can take to the Beis HaUman kelim. Even it's not l'tzorech hamoyed. That's what the Mishnah says. V'raminhu. Yet it says in the Brisa, ein mevin kelim mi Beis HaUman. You're not allowed to bring kelim from Beis HaUman. V'im choishesh lohen shemiyigonvu. But if you're concerned that maybe you'll be stolen from Beis HaUman, your kelim, then mefanan l'chotz you can take your kelim and bring it to another chotzer. So therefore, that was the question that Rava had posed to his Talmidim, says Rav Papa, to challenge us. Umishanin, and then we answered him, lo kasha. It's not a contradiction. Again, our Mishnah states that you can be moilichin umevin from Beis HaUman. Yet over here in the Brisa, it says otherwise. It says that you're not allowed to. You can't be mevin kelim Beis HaUman. It's only if you're concerned that it's going to be stolen, you can be fanin them to another chotzer. Umishanin, we answer, lo kasha. It's not a contradiction. Kan be'arba'osar, kan be'chula shel moed. That we can answer that the difference. Again, when it comes to chol hamoed, it's much more severe. And therefore, on chol hamoed, the din is like the Brisa says, ein mevin kelim Beis HaUman. But that which it stated that you could in our Mishnah, it's talking about on Yud Daled. The bois ema, the Gemara says, if you want, you can say an alternative answer. Ha veha bechula shel moed. They're all both talking about chula shel moed. If they're both talking about shel shel moed, so why is that you can bring and take from the Beis HaUman? V'lo kasha kan b'ma'amino kan b'she'eno ma'amino. If you trust the uman that he's not going to get and take your kelim and sell it to somebody else, then you're not allowed to bring it. And that's what the Brisa is saying. But if you're concerned that because you don't trust him, maybe he'll take the kelim and sell them to somebody else, then you're allowed to then bring them back. As the Brisa indicates, V'hatanya, mevin kelim mi Beis HaUman. One may bring kelim from the Beis HaUman. Kigoin, hakad mi Beis hakad. If he has a pot from a potter, because he needs a pot for tzorich yontif, tzorich moed. V'hakois mi Beis hazag, or he brings a glass kois from a glass blower, again the tzorich hamoed. Avalot semer Beis hatzeva, but not wool from the house of one who dyes it, because that's not the tzorich hamoed. V'lo kelim mi Beis HaUman, and not kelim from Beis HaUman, which will not be used for the moed. V'im ein loy ma yoicha, but if he doesn't have what to eat, then noisin loy scharo meniach menicha etzloi. But if he doesn't have what to eat, then you shall give him his schar, and you shall place it before him. V'im eino ma'aminoi. Now the Brisa goes on to say, if you do not trust the uman, then menichon mi beis hasamuchlo. Then place it in the house, in a room nearby. V'im choishesh shemiganvu. If you're still concerned that maybe it will be stolen, mevin betzina b'toich beisoy. Then quietly put it b'toich beisoy, secretly. So therefore, that goes very well according to what we just said, if you're mamin or not mamin. And says the Gemara, Tirasta mevian. This will be a good answer in regards to then bringing from the Beis HaUman. But molichin kasha. But to bring the kelim to the Beis HaUman, that hasn't been answered. Diktani, it says in the Brisa, ein mevin, you cannot bring. So how are you going to reconcile that? If it says ein mevin, then kol shekain ein molichin. If you can't bring it, according to the Brisa, then certainly you cannot take it to the Beis HaUman. Ella answers the Gemara, you're right, this is difficulty. Mechavarte kedashim mikar, we have to go back to the original answer that's mechalik between Yudalid and Chol HaMoed.